Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Thursday Night Tackle Bites. I'm your host Jim Carr and I'm filling in tonight for Victor Lynch. Now last week Victor talked about catching bass and the type of baits he used. He mostly used hard baits, crankbait and stick baits, jerk baits, things like that. And you know, he showed you how he fished for bass with them particular baits and the time of year he did them. Well, we're going to change things up a little bit here this week. And this week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about a little bit different type species of fish. Now, here in North Carolina, it's getting close to spring. This is about the middle of February, but it's been an unusual spring this year, okay? Like right now, this past week, it's been in the mid-50s to lower 60s all week long. And this is going to get panfish, in particularly, active. And getting him, as the water temperature warms up, it's going to be getting them into the spawning mode. So what I want to talk about in tonight's segment is I want to talk about pan fishing, in particular crappies. I want to show you a couple of techniques that we've used. You probably have seen a few videos that we've done in the past. We did one here a few weeks ago with Alan Greer from the Triad Bait Company, who is very knowledgeable when it comes to crappie fishing. So I'm going to show you a couple of Alan's techniques that he uses, and then we're going to cut away to a little video clip, and I'll show you with that video clip the demonstration of one particular thing that Alan, one particular rig that Alan uses when we are crappie fishing. Now, one thing we're going to show you, we're going to be talking about mainly is slow trolling for crappies. That's one thing that we do a lot of. Alan, he does brush pile and dock fish for crappies a lot. But lately, this time of year, we've been kind of capitalizing on looking for crappies that are suspended and that are out in deeper water. And what I mean by deeper water is anywhere from 15 to 20-ish feet, even 20 feet is a maximum. But we use a slow rolling trolling technique. And what I mean by slow is you're pulling your boat with your trolling motor anywhere from 0.3 to about 0.5 tenths of a mile an hour, 0.4 tenths of a mile an hour, anything in that range. You want to be going slow because this time of year, crappie have not warmed up yet. They're still in the cold water. They're still moving slow. And primarily, crappies are not a fish that chases very far for the bait. They more or less just, look upward with their eyes, and when a bait comes across in front of them, they'll just reach up and snatch it and suck it in. So you want to make sure that when you're fishing in cold temperatures, late winter, early spring, the water temperatures are still in the 50s, you want to make sure you're moving really slow, introducing that bait and keeping it in front of that fish, that crappie, as long as you can. Now, let's get started here. One of the baits and one of the rigs Alan uses is, I guess you would call it a dropper rig or a two-way rig. And what I mean by that is that you come off from your fishing rod with about 8-pound test line. Crappie fishing, pan fishing of any kind, I usually don't use more than 8-pound test line. From there, you'll tie on, at the end of your line, a 3-way leader, okay? And off from that leader, you're going to have 2 other lines. These want to be 6-pound test, and some guys will even go down to 4-pound test. Reason being is because if you're in really clear water, below 10 feet, line disappears really good. But if you should be in shallower water, this line might show up. Now I'm using thicker line. This is 30-pound test line I'm using tonight, and it's more or less so you can see it in the demonstration. Anyways, off from your 8-pound line that comes from your rod, you want to tie on 2 6-pound test leader lines. Now, this one right here really depends, and we don't talk about it much. This one right here really depends. This is the dropper line that comes and it's going to go straight down. This is the line that's going to have your weighted jig, and I'll explain to you why we do that in a few minutes. But this is going to have your weighted jig, and it's going to be down here. Like I've said in the past, you want to watch your depth finder. Find out where your fish are. If your fish are suspended up 6 feet off the bottom, you don't want this rig to be down below them, because you're going to bypass all your fish, okay? So you want to make sure, first of all, you determine exactly where your fish are staging in the water column, if they're suspended, if they're holding down close to the bottom and structure and things like that. That is where this bait wants to travel. It wants to travel really close to where you're seeing fish on your depth finder. So this line here, we put on somewhere between 2 and 3 feet of line on this line. And it wants to have the weight. This happens to be an 8-ounce jig, squirrel tail jig that is made by the Triad Bait Company. They're a real good jig. And the reason we want it weighted is so that it will hold the line down like so. And you're pulling your line on this 3-way swivel this way, okay? Now this next bait on the next side of the line, this next line is a unweighted bait. The only weight on here is the hook. The reason for that is that when you're using this particular rig, you want it coming through the water just like this, okay? You don't want this bait to be down here getting tangled on this line. You want it to be suspended up here. So the bait that you're introducing to the fish that's here, if it's missing anything, you know, fish aren't going to suspend on one straight line. You're going to have them scattered throughout a certain area. So you want to make sure that this bait is staying in that certain area and picking up any fish that this bait might be missing. Not only that, but it gives you the opportunity of using 2 different baits, helping you to find out what the fish want. So they may not want this type of a bait. Now sometimes we'll tip one of these with a minnow, or sometimes we'll just put a jig head on with a minnow. It really depends. You just have to find out when you get out there what the fish want. Let's go ahead and take a look at this short video, and you'll better see you know, what we're talking about. Now in this particular video we also use the Trophy Ridge planer boards. We're not going to talk about them much today. That'll be for another time. We'll show you how we use them. But that is a really cool way to go out, I think, and to get your crappies. You can usually end up, guys that troll will end up catching bigger crappies a lot of the time, because they're more tendency to chase after the bait a little bit more. But the reason I like the planer board technique is because you have a couple of down lines. These here are for your down lines for trolling. You have a couple of down lines out the back of your boat. And then off the side of your boat, you've got 2 planer boards, these Crappie planer boards off the side of your boat. And what's nice is you can still fish this technique, or you can just put on a single bait. You can make it weighted, and the planer board will stay true with the boat as you're drifting along. And it allows you to get out 10 or 15 feet. You know, crappie fishing, you don't want to put them out too much, but allows you to cover an area of water you can't normally cover. So if you're going by fish that are over here, or the left or the right side of the boat, you've got a very good chance of catching them, where if you were just fishing on the back of the boat with a down line, you may miss them fish. So let's take a look at this clip real quick, and I'll show you a little bit more about what we're talking about. We got one on here. There we go.
Good crappie.
There's a slab crappie.
There's a good one.
Yeah.
Good crappie there.
There we go. Caught him with the Trophy Ridge planer board. We're out here dragging these today with some jigs on the end. Catching some nice looking crappies there, Alan. About time you put us on some good fish.
Well, it was that triad bait crappie jig you got on.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Let's try it again and we'll see. We've got a variety of different rigs on. Alan's got these, what are these poles, Alan? 10 feet? 9-foot rods. And Jim can get in there with the camera. I'll show you. Hold this out. There we go. Well, wait a minute. We've got a couple of beads and we've got a small 3-way swivel. My line's all tangled around there, so I'm just going to hold it out like that so you can see. That's how Alan has that rigged up, okay? And then it comes out here to a plastic bait that we're using, which is that one. And then he's got another line on here with that jig head just like that. And it looks like we're only using about 6 to 8 pound test line. I'd like to get this unhooked here. Seems like when I reeled it in, I got all tangled up. What is this, Alan? 6 pound test?
6 pounds on the leader and 8 pounds on the main.
All right. See if I can get this apart there. There we go. Make it a little easier to see. There you go. And when that's coming through the water, what's happening is you've got one, the heavier one's going to be below the lighter one. Okay? So you're going to be coming through the water. I don't know if I'm holding that right there, Jim, but you're going to be kind of coming through the water like this, okay? Roughly what's going to be happening. And that just gives you 2 different bait options to introduce to the crappies, okay? And usually when you do that, after a few fish, you'll be able to kind of find out what it is they want, what color they want, and exactly what they're biting on. But let me get this out, we'll try to catch another one here. All right, well, as you saw in that clip right there, we were using the dropper rig, or the 3-way rig, and it was working really good for us that day. We caught a few fish on the down lines. We caught a few fish on the planer boards. Both techniques were working as good. I think we had more bites on the planer boards only because we had 4 lines out instead of just 2 in the back, but I'm not keeping score. But anyways, you know, as you can see, we use this rig right here. And another thing I like to do is I like to take, before I go ahead and I get set up in an area, is I like to take my boat and I like to drive up and down the area a little bit just to get an idea how deep the water is. I like to know how deep I'm going to be trolling so that the bottom is not coming up and down and you're not getting hanged up a lot. And I like to do that before I put my lines out. Then I'll go back and I'll determine which way the wind's blowing, which way the current is, so it makes it easier for me to troll. It's really hard at 3 to 5 miles an hour in a bigger boat to control your boat with the wind blowing than it is if it's not blowing, okay? Sometimes it can be a real hassle. But that's just some of the things we have to put up with. It really helps to have an autopilot or an iPilot trolling motor. You don't have to. They're very expensive, but that technology is there. And what I like about that technology is that it allows us to set a heading on our boat, and while we're putting out lines, reeling in fish, taking care of our jobs at the back of the boat's pretty much controlling itself. It'll compensate for the wind, it'll compensate for boat drift, and it'll keep it on a fairly straight line. So we use an iPilot or a autopilot a lot when we're doing drifting for catfish and that type of thing. Okay, that's going to be just about it for this week's Thursday Night Tackle Bites. I hope I was able to bring something to you on crappie fishing. I know we didn't cover a lot, but guys, we try to keep these things between 10 and 15 minutes. Try to pack it full of a lot of information, but keep it so that you're not getting bored with watching a 30-minute show or something like that. So next week, Victor will be back, and he will have something else that he will have to offer you as far as bass fishing or something like that. And then I'll be back in a few more weeks with something else. And we're going to kind of switch off. It just gives him a break, gives me a break, and we're able to introduce to you a lot more different techniques that way. So thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment and subscribe. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, please subscribe to it on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on our Facebook page, please like and follow us on Facebook. And if you have any comments, please let us know. If there's something you'd like to see us do, just go ahead and let me or Victor know, and we will try to do whatever it is you think that you would like to see.